Boom, the memorial. There we are. We're live. There's a cute picture of it for the cover art. Here's my little golfer guy getting ready to tee off on the first. And baseball, I left alerts on for baseball, so my phone might blow up a little here while we're doing this, but that's exciting too because I needed something to bet on. It doesn't feel like Tuesday because I had yesterday off, but here we are. Tuesday, joined as always by Pam. And just like the
Hey.
promo said, kind of crushed it last week, first round leader. You said it in your tweet, too. It was hilarious that it was Sergio, who we both kind of bet against, that chopped it up, but you know, you can't complain about a 11-1 winner, even if it is a
Right.
22 chopped. It's still a nice win. And then yes, Kokrak, very nice. I was a little nervous because legitimately my head-to-heads did poorly enough that like I would have had a losing week if I didn't hit it outright, even with the props helping out a little. So very nice that he was able to get it done. I was mad at your Texas folks for they were cheering against him when he did something bad. They'd cheer. I can't blame them. You know they obviously love Jordan, but it was nice to have a nice week. So
I was there, and so I got to experience firsthand the crowd, the roar, the fandom for Jordan Spieth. It was pretty amazing to see. It was nice to be in a crowd again, but not just that. I was super surprised to see the type of crowd that there was for Hoffman, who was my long shot, and he took third. So a little rain on my parade with your guy taking the win. But I mean, it was just a fun experience, and so to see those players just go head to head and everyone do well. And the ball, every time it hit the clear of the pin, just like, oh man, you could hear the crowd from the next city over. It was that loud.
it is awesome just in general to have fans back at sports, and yeah, it was cool to see the big galleries, and I've loved that part about golf lately. But yeah, for sure, it was Hoffman was one of my outrights from earlier in the week too. So there was a little part of me, the fatalistic part of me, that was thinking like, oh man, did I pull the old like I got second and third? Like, am I gonna get the second and third guys? I had four outrights and I picked second and third, can't get a winner, but no. Ended up Kokrak getting it done, and yeah, today we head to Memorial up in
Muirfield,
Ohio.
Dublin, Ohio. I had to make sure that this was in Ohio. I was like, is that a real city in Ohio? But it is Muirfield Village Golf Club. It is a par 72. It is over 7,500 yards, and that's because they added 100 yards to it from last year. It is known as the house that Jack built, and he wanted to make it a little bit more difficult. He's kind of tired of these bombers bombing, and so he wanted to make some reservations to the course to add a level of difficulty to it. And so one of those was extending the yardage over 100 yards longer. So that's going to be an interesting note, different from last year.
Yeah, I did. I found I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. I found a little bit of a guide to what they did to the tournament, or to the course. I'm not sure how much I can make of that. I'm probably just using more of like you said, the quote from Jack and what he did to it. So maybe it will be a little trickier for some of these bombers. They can't just cut these corners, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
fairways might be a little skinnier. So I'm putting a little bit of a premium on accuracy. But again, it's hard to use course history in general. This makes it even
Right.
harder since they switched a bunch about this course. And even last year, you saw they played this course 2 weeks in a row, and it played like completely different courses,
Different.
just based on what they did with the mowing, the watering, and a few other things. But the sub air is in now, so it'll be. Hopefully, it is quite a bit challenging because some of my bets are going to rely on that. But I'm gonna try to sink a birdie putt here on two, and we'll get into the bets. Yeah, Hoffman,
Good.
Charlie Hoffman is kind of our guy lately. I keep thinking about him, and like people need to get on the Hoffman train. Eventually, it's going to go the other way. But who'd you end up with your top? Like, who wins the tournament? Who's your outright? Who's taking this home?
I mean, how could you just not be betting Jordan Spieth every week? I feel like it's going to happen. We did see him win. He already took first at the Valero Texas Open, but he's just like crawling and inching his way. Obviously he took second, but I mean, he had a bad fourth round and you can't fault him for that. He took second last week. He took ninth at at Brian Nelson. He took third at the Masters. He took first at the Valero. He is in the deep green in every single category. You're talking about off the tee. You're talking about approach. So his ball striking has been consistent over the last like 10 rounds. His best game is around the green and putting. And now you want to give me a tournament where I want you to be good around the green and putting. Yes, I will take Jordan Spieth any day.
Yeah, I mean he went. Oh no, I just goofed. I just absolutely pulled the trigger funny and went right in the water. The course record's not falling today. It's been a rough go. I think I'm still having trouble coming off the holiday weekend. Like I had the meat sweats. I woke up at 2 in the morning, had to take Tums. I ate too much. I might have the gout at this point. I've eaten
Oh
entirely too
no.
much meat, so I just took a drop. This is not turning out well, but there is a lot of water on this course. I'm excited about that. I'll get to that later too. But yeah, I took Matsuyama. I found a 26. There's actually some better numbers out there. You can get probably close to 28 if you look around. He hasn't played a ton. Like he's a guy that actually hasn't played what I have the in my notes here. He played 2 times in the last
The
7 weeks
tournaments.
since the
Hmm.
Masters, but he also won the Masters. And yeah,
Right.
putting obviously kind of his downfall, but I don't think it matters quite as much on bent grass. And he did play well then. He's kind of taking it easy here, but the fact that he's up in the 2,600, 2,800 range where there's a bunch of guys under 20 to 1, I think he should be closer to that 20 to 1 number. So Matsu for me, and yeah, if he could get it done again, because he was nowhere to be found on my card for the Masters. So I didn't get much out of him then. I was happy for him. I liked the guy. I was happy to see him win, but it didn't do much for me when he took it there. So looking to make some money off him this week.
That was
Uh,
almost my pick.
Almost your pick? Yes. I know
Almost my pick.
I've had a few of these, and again, I've mentioned this. Like, I always let you turn in yours first before I fully fill out mine. And a couple times it's like, oh, that one was mine, and I'll switch it up. But yeah, I think some smart people are on him this week. So, how about the long shot? Long shots hit. Kokrak was my long shot last week. We could find one of these again.
I forgot if this was long shot to win, and so I didn't really like. I didn't see too many long shots, so instead I went with the Tony Finau top five. I don't know if that's considered a long shot, but to call a top five, I feel is just pretty difficult overall. So I'm going to stick with Tony Finau top five plus 500. He is coming off his worst putting performance. He lost 4.4 strokes. That is the worst that he has had since March in 2020. But here's why I'm going to take him. I mean, this is like a personal story. So I was at the Schwab last Saturday, and I saw him. I finished the round with Tony. I followed him 17, 18. He went straight to the putting green. And I was like, oh, he's good. He's here to putt. And today, after looking at the stats, I was like, that makes sense. But he was at the putting green. I stayed. I had some wine. I had some food. I watched Jordan. I saw some good players. And then, like, I kid you not, like 2 hours later, I was like, I'm ready to go. He was still at the putting green. So he's not wanting to do as bad as he did last weekend. So I liked that. I like players who know where their faults were and want to correct it. So I just have like this is maybe just like some personal bias of maybe Tony Finau can get his win this week.
And Tony is a very good golfer. It's the joke that people like, oh, he's a bridesmaid. So maybe the top five is the kind of a better look for there. And I'll give it to you for it being a long shot. Like he's not one of the favorites. It's a very tough field. He's going to be a bigger number.
Mm-hmm.
So no, for sure, I think that absolutely counts as a long shot. I did something similar even. So I went with Russell Knox, top
Oh
20.
yeah.
He's a massive number. Like in this field, I actually did play a couple guys who are, 75, 100 to ones for some small bets, and I will have them for top 20s as well. That's something I'm going to be doing here with Russell Knox. Top 20 is 5 to 1. Like I even looked at, I believe top 30 is like 2.5, maybe plus 250, somewhere along those lines.
Wow.
I'll probably even be playing some of those. When there's top 30, top 40 markets for some of these guys, it's basically like make the cut and don't screw it up too bad. But and not a big hitter, but he's been really accurate off the tee of late, and he's picking up a ton of greens and regulations with
Mm-hmm.
with how this course sets up. If you can stay accurate off the tee, you can get your second shot home. It's a guy who can make the cut. Making the cut is going to be a little easier. There's only 120 in the field, so I just need him to play half decent. If he has a good round, he is capable of making the top 20 and getting, almost, what is it, plus 550 on top 20. I like quite a bit. So he's
That's a
just
good
a
number.
guy, when I run the numbers, it's like, oh, his outright number is way too long. And again, like you, it's like, man, do I really want to play his outright though? Like, is Russell Knox really going to win Memorial? So yeah, top 20, top 30, top 40 for me on him.
I like it.
Which takes us to, I was saying my head-to-heads didn't do very well last week, but I think yours did. I feel
They
like you
did.
had Spieth in one, which anybody except I know there wasn't a Spieth versus Kokrak matchup. So Spieth versus anybody
Mhm.
won because he was very clearly second, and I don't remember what the other one was, but I think was it
It was
Hoffman?
Hoffman.
Oh
It
yeah,
was Hoffman over
second,
Harmon.
second and third in your head to head. So yeah, your
Yep.
head to heads did pretty well last week.
Yes, and so this week I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth. If I'm taking him as my long shot, as my outright to win, I'm going to like him against anybody again. And this one is going to be minus 110 over Colin Morikawa, which people will think that is a scary ass bet to take because Colin is so good with his irons. And for a course like this, you want a guy who's good with his irons. But guess who else is also becoming really good with their irons? That is Jordan Spieth. So give me the guy who has improved on his iron play in 10 straight events and is great around the green and is a really good putter. I'm going to take Jordan Spieth over anybody in the field right now.
Especially at that price. And yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
just proving. Like we had an argument in the golf chat this morning about who's better than Spieth right now, and people were throwing names out. It's like I don't know, man. The guy's going like full god mode, like he has in the like he has in the past a couple years ago when he was just winning everything. For my marquee one, I went with a couple of big hitters here. Even though Jack says he wants to take away what the big hitters can do, I feel like Rory is playing better with his long ball right now than Bryson is, and just some of the
Mm-hmm.
numbers I had. So I'm getting Rory at plus 106 over Bryson, which I think Rory should be the favorite. My numbers suss that out. I'm ready to play Rory as a plus 106 dog to Bryson. And Bryson has kind of been sneaky bad with his irons over the past month. Obviously, the Masters, that's a completely different animal. That's something completely different than anything else. But really, he needed a real masterclass on the greens to even make up for what he was doing on approach at the Wells Fargo. And it kind of gets hidden, like, oh, he didn't play well on approach. Well, people don't notice that because he's still top 10. Like I said, he putted his ass off, got to the top 10, and it kind of gets hidden. But yeah, Rory has seemed to fix a few of the things that kind of have plagued what he does. He tried to increase his length, and it kind of affected his accuracy. I think that accuracy is starting to come back, though. I'm pro Rory for the time being, and I don't think he should be this big of a dog. So give me Roars at plus 106 for sure.
I like it.
All right, further down the board, another head to head, which again, undefeated on head to heads last week. So Pam's got probably two more winners this week.
And I mean, let's hope so because I have Hideki. So if he's going to be your long shot to win, your outright
Oh
winner,
yeah.
and I like Hideki, then it's going to. I also, like I said, almost chose him as my outright. So I'm going to choose him over anyone in the field. And it's kind of similar, just like to everything that you said. I mean, we did see him win at the Masters, and we have only seen him play in two tournaments, but he's improved in each of those tournaments. He took 39th at the Byron Nelson, and then he took 23rd at the PGA Championship. More importantly, his ball striking is still there, and where he lost was 3.3 strokes at the PGA Championship on his putting. That is something that can definitely be corrected. If he just like neutralizes that a little bit, then he's going to be right up there. And then Patrick Cantlay, I don't know what is going on with him. He is just kind of all over the place. He has 4 miscuts in his last 7 events. He's lost strokes putting in 7 straight events. So I'm going to go with the guy who is consistent. And even though he hasn't played, I have more trust in him right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Cantlay has been weird for me. He's a guy who's played very well here, in fact, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been very hard to figure out this year. So I don't mind fading him at all. He's been a guy that's made that column on my card quite a few times this year. I went with another person who won this year, but not quite maybe in the same class at this point in his career. In my guy Stewie Sink. Stewie Sink
Ooh.
surprised us. I think that was one of our first episodes, or maybe that
Mm-hmm.
was maybe that was my dreaded solo episode where I had to sit here and talk to myself. But he won RBC. I think that was very surprising, but I don't think it's surprising that he's playing well. He's actually played pretty well the last 6 weeks. And really, his irons are kind of dialed in right now, which is, I mean, that's key everywhere. It's not tough to say like your second shots are very important, but his iron play is very good. And you know what? He still has a sneaky rocket off the tee. Like he's pretty high up there in driving distance, but still has quite a bit of accuracy, which is, like I said, I've faded some bombers that are not hitting the ball as accurate, but somebody who can hit the ball decent, he's above average for sure, and still have some accuracy, I'm fine with. Especially like, I mean, the hole I'm just playing right now, there's a creek running all along the fairway. There's a bunch of water at this. There's a bunch of water that doesn't matter because,
Mm-hmm.
you're hitting like, it's like 60 yards in front of the tee box. There's a lake. Like that's not going to matter unless I'm playing it and I pull one of my moves where I hit it just on the ground. But for a lot of these guys, like some of the misses left and right, it's going to end up in the water if you are inaccurate. So I'm looking for somebody that's accurate off the tee as well as long. And then I have him against Leishman. That's just been a fade for me for various reasons, but I think this is more of a play on sync for me. I like Stewie. I'm not afraid to bet him here at -114.
I like it. I'm actually gonna I put that down because I want to consider playing that myself.
Yeah, I've seen a few different matchups just because every book has something different. I've seen a few people on sync in a few different ways. And, I didn't weigh putting as well here as much here. I'd never do, but he's been decent with the putter as well. So Stewie, yeah, Stewie's a look for me this week. Where does that bring us? Oh, the cut prop. God, the cut prop was tough last week. Like you
I was
said,
doing really well
well,
until
we get to a
Sergio
small
decided
field.
to just like light things on fire for me. So that didn't work out. And this week, I actually think this week was really, really tough. I could not find a player that I loved that like shouted out to me. I did actually. I put in my notes. I wrote down some names and I jotted things down. And Jason Day was a miss the cut for me, but it wasn't listed as an option. So tell me that the books don't know. So instead, I had to pivot, and I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going with Sam Burns because he can be a bit of a firecracker. He's either going to be really hot or he's going to fizzle out real quick. He'll be hot on day one, and then he'll still miss the cut on day two. And he's coming off a missed cut at the PGA Championship. The odds are plus 200, so it's decent value right there. And then he did go on a streak right there where he missed the cut in 3 straight events. But then he did also get fourth, first, and second in tournaments after. So I think this is like a 50-50 whether he can hit or not. But I didn't like any miss the cuts, so I'm going with somebody who's missed the cut recently.
Yeah, it's tough. It's almost impossible to bet a make the cut at a field like this because it is
Mm-hmm.
a field of 120. So like it's harder to miss the cut, and if they don't give you a bunch of options, like there's going to be nobody under like what -300 to make the cut. So it kind of leaves
Yep.
you with trying to find to fade someone. I think we took like the two most likely. I ended up with Bubba Watson +180 to miss the cut. Yeah, again, kind of a swing here just because it is one of the categories, but like this is probably a pretty small bet for me just because it's a field of 120. It's harder to miss the cut. Very few people miss the cut. There's going to be some amateurs. There's going to be some lower end players that for sure miss the cut, taking up a bunch of those spaces. You really have to screw up bad to miss it here. But Bubba's a guy I can see. He didn't play all that well at the PGA, and his drive can be a little erratic on some of the tighter fairways. So basically, like I said, with those creeks, and again here on the 14th, I'm hitting again the landing zone is right over a creek, and then with some water right next to it. If you get too squirrely, and who knows how tight these fairways really will be when we actually see this course here in a couple
Mm-hmm.
days. Like if it does get squirrely and he gets a couple water balls, hopefully I can get home. But yeah, like I said, this is a pretty small bet for me. I'm not super excited about the miss the cut bets this week.
Nope. Doesn't mean you have to play everything.
No, yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna take it easy on this one. This will be a pretty small play. Where did we end up on nationalities last week? I don't think my guy even claimed close because
No.
Sergio screwed that. It was continental European for me, and I had somebody I think I had Norlander. So Sergio really took out a bunch of our bets. That didn't work
I
out
was
well.
correct about mine. I said Justin Rose. I picked Justin Rose, and
Well,
then I
there you
even
go.
said I think the guy who can screw it up is going to be Ian Poulter, and Ian Poulter is the one who did well.
Oh my God, Ian Poulter. I watched a lot of the last round just because obviously I wanted to pay attention to the final group there. But yeah, Poulter was making everything in the final
Everything.
round there. He was really good. So,
Hmm.
who are we after this week?
I'm gonna do something unconventional and kind of fade Corey Connors, I guess. It's really hard to go against him, but I'm gonna go top Canadian and take a flyer. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a flyer, but Adam Hadwin as a second favorite in his grouping at plus 350. And in the group, it's Corey Connors, Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, and Nick Taylor. Corey Connors, he's doing really well, of course. He's like the best ball striker on tour. But in case Adam Hadwin, he finished 8th last week at Charles Schwab. That's also a bent grass course. He gained 5 strokes around the green, and he was neutral. He barely gained 0.53 in putting. That's exactly the recipe you want to do well. A player who can ball strike fine, be good around the green, and then just like kind of do nothing significant with his putting. So in case that wasn't a fluke and he kind of rolls into this week, then I like that. And we saw Corey Connors struggle with his putter again last week, which is why he finished in the top 20 at T20. So let's go with plus money.
Yeah, and that's where eventually a guy plays well enough and he gets overpriced. Like Corey Connors at a certain point, there's going to be a time to fade him, and he's been playing well enough lately where he's becoming so much of a prohibitive favorite in these bets where it just takes one, any of these guys to play a better round. Like I wish they had just a Corey versus the rest of the Canadians, like a field bet. I probably would make that. You could Dutch those prices together and put that together, I suppose. But yeah, Corey versus the field. I'm dipping into one I've dipped into a couple times, and actually the one where I hit it was the first round leader, Top Aussie. But I'm going to play Top Aussie, and it's Cam Davis again. I mean, if anybody remembers that episode, I just said like I started running the numbers on all my Australians, and they just kept popping up in the exact same part of my rankings. Like I had all their numbers very similar. And I had whatever, Cam Davis was a pretty big number to be the first round leader Australian. He ended up clearing that by like 3 strokes. It was actually quite a beautiful little bet. I don't think I've hit a nationality since. I had a push with not the Belgians. I feel like you had the Belgians. Maybe mine was a different country there, the Frenchman. But yeah, and this is one, do shop around. He's plus 750 to be Top Aussie at DraftKings. He's 1,200 at FanDuel. So really look at all the books you have available to you when you are shopping this, because that's a pretty big difference. And yeah, again, I like Cam Smith a lot. He should be the favorite in this field, but him being plus 250 Cam Smith, excuse me, I like him a lot. He should be the favorite. There's too many Camerons on tour, but Cam Davis at 1,200 is egregious. And honestly, Matt Jones is a little long too. You can find Matt Jones at 8-1 for this. I wouldn't mind either of those guys.
So you're going with Cam Smith or Cam Davis?
Cam Davis.
Cam Davis.
Cam Davis is 12-1. Cam Smith is the favorite in this market, no matter where you look.
Got it.
I am, yeah. And I like Cam Smith. He should be the favorite, but I don't think Cam Davis should be this far down the line. So I'm fully ready to take this, which leads us to one where you're just leaning on me.
The wild card. The hole in one. You're right. The hole in one. Whatever you say, I'm gonna follow, because I cannot. I think we've done like 5 or 6 of these. I have not gotten one correct.
Yeah, and it sucks taking the no. It's no fun. It's sweaty all weekend, but same as last week. There's only 120 in the field. We're gonna have a few hundred fewer shots at the par threes, Again, we're looking at a different setup than we've seen in the past. But if you've seen some of the pin locations I've played into here, if they set these pin locations on these threes like this, people aren't gunning for the pins, no matter how good your irons are. Right. And if you look in a few places, some people have actually had the scorecard out because some members have been able to play this for the past couple weeks. The threes are going to play 210, 200, 180, and 200 roughly.
Dang.
So 3 over 200. I mean, you're going to be hitting a 4 hybrid. You're going to be hitting a, whatever you want to use there. Some people have a 2 iron. I guess if you want to get wild with it. But you're not going to be hitting easy 8 irons into some short threes. These are bad threes. They're hard. Mm-hmm. There's a couple that are over water where if the pin location's tight to the front, it's going to be right near the water where you're not going to be pin seeking at all. You're just hoping to get a nice putt out of it. So we're on the no at plus 115. And yeah, the greens are not big. So plus 115 for the no. We're both on that. And we'll ride it. Again, Corey Connors, he has like 2 hole-in-ones this year. I guess I'd be afraid of him. That would really screw a couple bets up. But until he makes another one, I'm on the no. So no for both of us takes me into Wildcard.
Watch. It's going to be Adam Hadwin has the lead by 1. And then on 18, on the 4th day, Corey Connors is going to make a hole-in-one to screw over my top Canadian bet and the hole-in-one.
I know when you asked about it, I had to go check. I'm like, I don't think there was. I feel like I'd have remembered. But I ended up looking, and I just ended up doing like a Google search for PGA birdies and the words hole-in-one. And like out of the last 5, 2 of them were Corey Connors. Like he's got the mojo, so we don't need that this week. I'm teeing off 18, not playing my best today. I'm only 5 under. I have a bogey. I went in the water. I had a drop. It's like Andy's actually out there on the course. It's a tough
A
course.
preview of what's to come.
Yeah, hopefully it is a tough course. So Wildcard, that's where we made some money. That was your speed first round leader bet last week. So what do you got this
Plus,
week?
it was him plus 2,200 first
Less
round, and
wild.
then Sergio Garcia had to ruin it. Split it, but it's okay. This week I'm going to go. You were just talking about him, and now that worries me, but I'm going to go with Cam Smith. I'm going to go in a head to head, and it's Cam Smith and minus 125 over Shane Lowry. Kind of nervous about this one, but I think they're the same player. It's just they go about it differently. So you have Shane Lowry, who's a better iron player, but then you have Cam Smith, who's a great short game player. I'm in a course that's a little bit more difficult, where you're more than likely to miss the greens, whether you're a good iron player or not. I'm going to rely on the guy who can be good around the green and good putting, and that's going to be Cam Smith. He finds his way. The stats don't necessarily say anything spectacular, but yet he still has like what, 7 top 20s in his last 8 events. So I mean, he's finding a way to sneak in there, and I think he can do it again.
And Shane Lowry looks like a bowler instead of a golfer for the most part. Like, and I like Shane Lowry, but I do need to pick on him a little. And like I said, yeah, Cam Smith should be the favorite for Aussie. But I just I like all the Camerons. Tringali, I play him quite a bit too. Maybe Champ. Champ is the one Cameron I don't like, but I like that quite a bit. I just like last week. I'm gonna do it again. Play off at 4-1. Again, it's a smaller field, and the scores should be lower this week than
Be
they were
closer.
last week. So hopefully there's a smaller dispersion of scores. The fact that I do believe this is mispriced because it should be closer to 3.5 on this. I'm gonna just play the 400 again. Last week when it looked like Jordan was gonna take advantage of the belt, I was thinking I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna hit my playoff bet and Jordan's gonna win in the playoff and I'm gonna be so sad. But yeah, again, even that one where we had low scores, it was close. It was another tournament that was very close to the end. I talked about it last week. I'm not going to use the historical records for Memorial on this. I think it's going to be a low scoring tournament where it doesn't matter if there's only 120 in the field. There's going to be the same amount around on Saturday and Sunday, normal cut rules, and I think if it is low scoring, we do end up with a decent chance of a playoff. And 4-1 is a little long as I finish up with it was a tidy 66. It was a nice little birdie putt at the end. Course record was not beaten because I just coming off a holiday weekend, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a course record. I'm still not feeling quite right. But yeah, John Houston remains the course record holder from 1996. I believe he directed Annie. It might have been a different guy, but I don't remember this guy golfing at all. It's been a long time since that was Tom Lehman days for me. But the course record's fine. It looks like I unlocked a pair of shoes. That'll be pretty nice for me going forward. And Jeff O'Reilly in the chat says Patrick Reed is winning this golf tournament. That might be. Like that
Very well
guy,
good.
I bet him a lot. And I love that guy. And he does thrive at tough courses that are playing tough. He's a grinder and he's decent around the green wells. So Patrick Reed, that's not a bad call, Jeff. And yeah, that's it for the week. Hopefully we have some more winners. Last week was good. Again, with your matchups, your first round leader, my winner, some props that hit. My cut play win. You know what? The cut play streak remains because JT Poston missed. So plus 160 on that. So we're gonna count that. And again, thanks to WinBet for the sponsorship. Check them out if you're in one of the legal states they're in. $500 free bets. Go bet some golf there. Cash that out on Sunday. And thanks to Pam and everybody for watching, everybody in the chat. We'll catch you next week.
Good luck with your bets.